God! Ah. Damn it.
Oh my God.
God dang it.
Hi guys, welcome to Spooky Scary Sunday.
So, welcome back. 6 videos today. 4 in 1, right? One from True Horror Stories, it's POV, and then one from Meatcanyon. All should be fairly recently new. Anyways, huge clap out to everybody for the subs. We have we're almost at 500. So keep hitting the like button, right? That just lets us know that you actually like what we're doing, right? And then continue subscribing. Yeah. Anyways, first things first. Snack time.
Okay, so
I'll go first since you take forever to leave your seat, walk around the room, go over there and do some stuff. If you haven't tried this yet, the new guava snaps, right? This thing hits. It is really good. And they're 2 for $5 everywhere. So get you some. Drink it.
And 0 sugar.
Yeah, there's 0 sugar, but it has all the other bad stuff in there, like caffeine and crack, and then there's I don't know, some gum, Arabic stuff. It's yeah, whatever. Keep your liver busy, keep your kidneys going, right? Give them something to do while you sit around and do nothing but drink energy drinks.
Okay, so as my most favorite, let's give it D. Starts with a D and then ends with a lower D. And it's D's nuts. Yeah, okay. And the pickle. Yeah.
Yes, D's nuts.
Mm-hmm.
Still chomping on these things. Not the ones that they sent us, but these are new, right? The pickles keep slapping, right? They are knocking it out of the park. These nuts are good. So go get these nuts and put some in your mouth. Taste the salty vinegar. It's gonna be good. I promise you. Anyways, next.
And also my drink of today. I think it's Sprite.
Let's go.
And it is What?
What are you gonna say? I'm curious. Spur. What is it? You're about to be fired in 3, 2. Where's the P, bro?
There's no P.
I know, it's starry.
Starry?
Star, like in the sky. Starry. It's like a Sprite, but not. It's a little bit more crisp, and I don't know. I think they're better.
Sugar.
Yeah, 0 sugar. Owen's on something about sugar kick. I don't know. Anyways, enough of that. You got your snacks. Let's get ready. Let's start this thing off. First one's first. It's True Horror Stories POV again. My favorite. This is called Other Me, right? This just came out a little bit ago. I don't remember. Like 6 days ago.
Nope.
Anyways. Probably 12 by the time I get done editing and y'all see this. Anyways, headphones on. Get in-depth experience, right? Gotta immerse yourself. Noise canceling is better too because, let's just be honest, you're not in it unless you're in it. Anyways, 3, 2,
1. Go.
Hah? Dah.
Cakap apa tahu POV horror story.
Solat sekarang.
Nantilah.
Kau jangan main-main lah. Kalau kat sebelah kau pasal kau tumbuk kau pakai muka. Horror.
Solat sekarang.
Kau irritating pun kau tadi. Since when kau jadi mak
Trying to watch a TikTok.
Please relax.
Rude.
Aku nak angkat wuduk ni.
Go to the house.
Ya.
Yeah, whatever you say.
Timbul.
So irritating.
Baru ke ni?
Is this new?
Wangi.
It smells like butt.
Oh, that blinking
I love the blinking.
makes it a little more realistic.
Ah, okay.
Feel my praise.
She's like, be sincere with your prayers. She's like, man, how does she know? How does she know I'm gonna fake it? Don't fool around doing prayers.
Macam lah dia baik sangat.
Yeah, she is so perfect.
Allahu Akbar.
Boom.
That's it.
What's that? Her nails.
Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Panas. Panas. Oh, kita ada. Oh, panas. Alamak. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar.
Oh! Oh, don't pick your nose.
Okay, sorry. It's itchy.
Naya dari tadi ke kat sana?
How long you been sitting there?
Naya?
Naya?
Naya marah kat Setia.
Are you angry with me?
Naya,
Naya,
jangan merajuk lah.
don't be angry, okay?
Naya,
Naya?
okay, Naya. Kasih sorry, ke? Naya. Naya. Nanti kita tengok movie.
Aku tak nak solat.
Apa tadi? Aduh.
What the hell is that noise?
Sounds like a dog that looks licking. She has a hotel.
Macam apa tu? Naya? Naya? Naya tengah makan? Naya?
She's eating cereal.
Yep, eating cereal. so loud.
Naya makan apa malam ni?
No.
Naya? Naya? Naya?
Oh, snap.
Apa tadi? Apa tadi? Apa tadi? Pergi! Sakit aku! Apa tadi?
Oh my god!
God dang it. God damn it.
Kau pergi dari sini! Ini rumahku! Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Allah la ilaha illa huwal hayyul qayyum. La ta'khudhuhu sinatun wa la nawm. Lahu ma fis samawati wa ma fil
Now
ardh.
she's praying.
من ذا الذي يشفع عنده إلا بإذنه.
Damn it.
This is the scary one yet. Look, breathing.
Astaghfirullahaladzim. Ya Allah. Aduh, ya Allah. Tapi asal muka aku
Ooh, sounds like of the
That was good. Dang.
she got or they got you like
A few times.
3 times. Like I think that was 2.
Dang.
Dang, that was scary. How she was like, I don't know, like on
On the wall.
yeah.
Nah. Anyways, so this is one of my favorites, other favorites, right? POV, top. Meatcanyon, top. This is Meatcanyon. Don't listen to this podcast. And you'll see in the thumbnail right there. Talk Tuah. Yep.
Yeah, you probably have heard her on.
Oh, everybody's heard of her.
Mm-hmm.
Super annoying. Anyways, here it goes. And 3, 2, 1.
You heard what about fart Tuah? Fart on that thing.
Or squirt Tuah, right, girls? Squirt Tuah.
My upstairs neighbor began listening to the Talk Tuah podcast. Well, I should say he was watching it. He started watching it 2 months ago. He seemed to mock it at first, mumbling to himself.
Nothing. It's so dumb.
I didn't pay much attention to it. Things felt so normal then. It wasn't until that night he knocked on my door.
Oh my god, that sounded like right behind me.
I'm just a silly girl.
He raised his head along with his phone to look at me, a crazed look in his eye, accompanied with a sticky, wet smile. He was showing me the podcast he was watching earlier.
You gotta check out this podcast.
Why do you think
The joke
people
is so
like that
funny.
so much? I wish I knew.
Multi-layered.
Yeah, I do.
I can't recommend it enough.
Oh, the Hawk Tuah thing? It's just the dick-sucking joke, right?
You think it's just that, but then she talks to you. She speaks to me, at least. She saw through me.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I
could see my soul leave my body.
You boys. Hawk Tuah.
You are lost, but can easily be found. Spill from your mouth the essence of truth, and it will set you free. Let it spill forth. Fill your chalice with truth.
You could see his obsession.
It's so funny.
But it was just a joke.
What did I tell
Right?
you?
A leak from upstairs began to drip into my apartment. I tried to talk to him about it, but he would never answer his door, only laughing with the podcast blaring at all times of day.
Looks like a Rottweiler's jowls dribbling down.
Out of some morbid curiosity, I tried watching the show,
But
I didn't understand. I couldn't understand. Was it the joke?
Do you like dogs?
Was it the girl?
Hawk, spit
Where
on
was the
that
root of his
thing.
obsession?
Hawk to
There was nothing.
Hawk Tuah. Dog Tuah. Cat. Meow Tuah. Meow Tuah is kind of interesting.
Because that's also about pussy. But not about the lady kind, more about the little fur baby kind. I don't want kids though, because I think that the world's a corrupt place and it makes me afraid. I really don't want to bring another conscious living being into this hellscape we call it Earth. What do I know? Hawk Tuah, spit on that thing. I don't like Mike Tyson's face tattoo. It scares me.
One day, the laughing stopped. Surely there had to be some reason.
Oh, Post Malone, so dreamy. I love his face tattoo. Hawk Tuah. Instead of always tired on his cheeks, I wish it said Hawk Tuah. How much you think I gotta pay him to put spit on that thing? Tattooed somewhere if there's any skin left on that beautiful. Oh God!
Spit on that thing.
Oh God! Oh God! Yeah, my dad didn't like the Hawk Tuah meme, but I just
must admit,
Hawk Tuah!
the show does hook you pretty fast.
That thing already. And it's not.
It's not just a one-dimensional joke. It's truly very moving. So funny.
Difference. Oh, good golly! I'm from the South.
And yeah, the guy who was telling that, he's true. It will hook you. Because Dad's laughing right here. I'm like, I don't.
It's like up here, right? You're down here. You know this much. I know this much. There's relevancy that I know that you don't know. Some of it's funny, kinda.
I'm like, oh, I don't like
Some of it's mocking. So
okay.
gross. Ugh. Taste the pickled nuts. Disgusting. Anyways, this is SSG Animations, right? No, thank you. Anyways, this is SSG Animations, right? This show, or this like video in particular, right, is 4 true subscriber submitted stories. SSG Animations animated it, put it into what we're about to watch right now. I'll have transitional breaks between the stories. That way you can like find them in the chapters below, right? But yeah, we're gonna go straight through it, and here we go.
Stories. We wanted to tell you something. All of these stories are different from the ones we normally do, because you are the ones who sent them to us. All of these people sent us their stories to ssganimation@gmail.com. Remember that all the stories will be slightly modified to fit the channel, and they don't have to be sexual or underage content included. With that said, we look forward to your stories.
Story number 1.
It all began when I was 11 years old. My family had just moved into a new house, a modest place in a quiet neighborhood, but there was something off about it from the very start. I couldn't explain it, but the house gave me chills. The air always felt too cold, too still, as if it was watching. Even my little brother, Rob, felt it too, though neither of us could articulate what was wrong. But we knew something wasn't right. My mom had put me and my baby sister, Ashley, in the same room. She was only a year old at the time, just barely a toddler, while I had a daybed set up on one side of the room. Her crib was across from me, separated by a tall dresser with a small TV perched on top. The arrangement was simple, but sharing the room with Ashley wasn't. She always unsettled me, though I couldn't explain why. Her presence made the room feel colder, more oppressive. The first real sign that something was wrong came when Rob and I were sitting in the living room one night watching Unsolved Mysteries. All the lights were off, except for the glow of the TV flickering across the walls. We were halfway through an episode when something caught our attention. A black mass, darker than the shadows, swirling like a cloud in the corner of the room. It was massive, looming, and it felt wrong. Rob and I froze, staring as it began to move toward us, creeping closer and closer. We screamed and bolted, running straight to our parents' bedroom. But they didn't believe us, brushing it off as an overactive imagination. "You've been watching too much TV," they'd said. "Go back to bed." But the house wasn't done with us. It had other plans. Other strange things started happening. I remember using the bathroom late at night and dealing with the old temperamental toilet. It was the kind that wouldn't flush unless you waited for the bowl to fill up. As a kid, I hated the dark hallway and the eerie silence of the house at night, so I'd often rush out before the toilet was ready. But just as I would reach for the doorknob, the toilet would flush on its own. I'd freeze, staring at the bathroom as the sound of rushing water echoed behind me. The first time it happened, I told my parents, but again, they dismissed it. "Your imagination is running wild," they'd say, but it kept happening. The toilet, the black mass, the chilling air. Something wasn't right, and no one seemed to believe me. But Ashley, she was the worst. She terrified me, though I felt guilty for admitting it. That night, I'd often wake up to find her standing in her crib, not moving, just staring at me. Her eyes would follow me in the darkness, and sometimes I could feel her gaze even before I opened my eyes. And then, one night, it happened. I was lying in bed, wide awake. I wasn't sure what had woken me up, but I had that familiar sense of dread creeping over me. The room was dim, the soft glow of the TV casting eerie shadows across the walls. I could feel Ashley watching me again, but I kept my eyes shut, too scared to acknowledge her. Something wasn't right. Her presence felt heavier than usual, more intense, and I knew that something terrible was about to happen. Suddenly, I felt a cold gust of air sweep over me. The room temperature dropped dramatically, and I could hear her breathing. Then I heard it. Her voice. Sissy! Sissy! It wasn't her normal voice. It was low, distorted, almost demonic. My entire body tensed as I slowly opened my eyes. There she was, hovering beside my bed, her tiny feet dangling above the floor. She was floating. I couldn't move. I couldn't scream. My heart pounded in my chest as I stared at her. My baby sister, with her pale face illuminated by the flickering TV light. Her eyes were hollow, dark pits that bore into me. And I realized then, this wasn't Ashley. This was something else. Something using her. She glided across the room, her body unnaturally still, and as I watched in horror, she floated toward the door. Without touching it, the door creaked open and she disappeared into the dark hallway. The next morning, I told my mother what had happened. I was shaking, still terrified, but she didn't believe me. She was furious, accusing me of jealousy, of making up stories. Ashley can't walk or talk, she said, her voice sharp. She's a baby. Stop lying, Sherry. But Ashley did change after that night. She became aggressive, almost violent. She would scream and thrash during diaper changes, hitting and biting my mother with a strength far beyond what a 1-year-old should have. My mother struggled with her frustration growing, but still, she didn't believe me. Then, the voices started. My mom would hear footsteps in the hallway, voices calling her name when no one else was home except Ashley. It wasn't long before she couldn't deny it anymore. She confided in her best friend, who suggested bringing in a priest to bless the house. She even taught my mom a prayer to say when Ashley became too aggressive. I rebuke you in the name of Jesus Christ. One afternoon, when Ashley was in one of her fits, my mom tried the prayer. The moment she said it, Ashley's voice shifted, becoming low and guttural as she screamed, "No! No! No!" It wasn't her voice. It wasn't my sister. My mother turned white as a sheet. That's when she finally believed. We called the church, and within days, a group of priests came to the house. I'll never forget the sight of them standing in a circle around my sister, their hands on her tiny head, praying with such intensity it made the air feel heavy. My brother and I were told to go outside, but I couldn't tear my eyes away from the scene. Ashley screamed long, blood-curdling shrieks that echoed through the house, and then, all at once, silence. The sun was setting as we waited outside, the light casting long shadows across the yard. I remember looking up at the house, and for the first time, feeling a strange sense of relief. When we went back inside, Ashley was different. She was calm, happy even.
She was a baby.
Cooing and crawling around as if nothing had ever happened. Whatever had been inside her was gone. But the house was still alive. Even after the exorcism, it never felt the same. The air remained thick with something unseen, and every creak and groan of the old walls felt like a warning. Ashley lived 22 years before she passed away, over a decade ago now. And even though she loved all things spooky, I could never shake the feeling that something from that house followed her, lingered around her even after that night. And when I visit my childhood home now, 30 years later, I can still feel it. The house watching, waiting. Something still lurks there.
No, I'm like kind of trying to get feedback from like the first story. What'd you think? Okay.
It was actually kind of very terrifying. It's like how it's like not really that scary, but when it's like telling a real story to you. So it's like once upon a time there was until we moved in.
Yeah, it is kind of scary.
It's like a story.
It is a story. That's someone's story, but they just animated it. Anyways, here is story number 2, and we'll pick up right where we left off. Here we go.
Hello, my name is Janie, and I have a terrible story to tell you. It all started at the beginning of my senior year of high school. It was my first day of school, and although I was late due to health problems, nothing had prepared me for what would happen next. When I walked into the classroom, 2 boys I didn't know stared at me. I walked to my seat while everyone else was already seated. We'll call them Zach and Henry. My girlfriend, who I hadn't noticed at first because my blood sugar was low, it's worth noting that I have type 1 diabetes, was sitting behind them. I didn't realize it at the time, but she heard what those guys were saying. As she told me later, they debated whether I was a boy or a girl. I don't mind people seeing me as masculine. I have short hair and several nose piercings, and I wear baggy men's clothes because I feel more comfortable that way. But what bothered me was not the confusion itself, but the tone with which they discussed it. Instead of just being curious, according to my girlfriend, they were being cruel and rude. It got to me a little when she told me about it over lunch, but I didn't let it get to me too much. I reminded myself that I am sure of who I am and that they were just a couple of immature teenagers looking for someone to pick on to make them feel better about themselves. The school day ended and I got on the bus to go home. On the way, my father texted me that he was going to visit his uncle, who was in the hospital battling testicular cancer. I knew I would be home alone that night, as my mother worked night shifts and my older sister was at her boyfriend's house. I got off the bus and started walking through the quiet streets of my small town. Most of the time the side streets were empty, and that night was no exception. However, as I passed by an alley, someone grabbed my arm and pushed me against the wall before I could react. It was Henry, one of the boys who had taunted me in the morning. Before I could process what was happening, he planted a kiss on my lips. I was shocked for a second, but quickly pushed him away. He looked annoyed, but tried to excuse himself, asking me why I had rejected him. I told him I was dating a girl, and I saw the anger in his eyes, though he only muttered a frustration-filled "okay" and walked away, disappearing into the darkness of the alley. I stood there for a moment, stunned by what had just happened, before continuing on my way home. I tried to calm down by watching some videos to distract myself. That night, my mom came home with McDonald's for dinner together, something that, although trivial, made me feel more relaxed.
Yeah.
That night, I had planned to go to sleep over at my girlfriend's house, but a few hours before I was to leave, she texted me that she wasn't feeling well and wouldn't be able to meet me. I replied not to worry, to rest, and to call me if she needed anything. After dinner, my parents and I watched a few episodes of The Walking Dead before going to bed. I was exhausted, and I forgot to close one of the windows in my room, the one facing the ceiling. Although I usually left it closed for safety, that night I fell asleep without thinking about it. Hours later, I woke up, as I often do. I tossed and turned, trying to go back to sleep, when a soft noise alerted me. At first, I thought it was my guinea pig moving, but this sound was different, heavier. A sense of panic ran through my body. Slowly, I looked around the room, and that's when I saw it. A figure was standing by my window. My body froze. I tried to scream, but fear prevented me. The figure moved quickly toward me, and before I could react, I knew who it was. It was Henry. Again. I was terrified. Before I could do anything, I heard my mother running toward my room with my father right behind her. At that instant, Henry tried to escape, but my father caught him and pinned him down until I could call the police. When the officers arrived, they arrested him without much trouble. As they handcuffed him, I stood on the verge of tears, hugging my mother. I still couldn't understand how he had gotten into my room. Only after some thought did I realize that he had probably followed me home after the incident in the alley. I hadn't seen him, but he must have been hiding, watching my every move. The next morning I called my girlfriend, but she didn't answer. I wasn't too worried as I knew she usually slept late. I got ready for school expecting to see her there, but the whole day passed and she didn't show up. I sent her another message, but again she didn't answer. I decided to go to her house after school to make sure everything was okay. When I arrived, I knocked on the door several times, but there was no answer. Her parents were away on a trip, so I knew she was home alone. I knocked once more and heard her phone ring from inside. The door was unlocked, so I opened it and went inside. I called her name, but got no answer. A shiver ran through my body as I climbed the stairs. When I entered her room, what I saw shattered me completely. My girlfriend was lying on the floor, dead. I don't want to go into details, but I'll just tell you that it was murder. Someone used a knife, and it looks like they tortured her before murdering her. The room was a mess, but what made my blood run cold was the message written in blood on the wall. Now that she's gone, you're all mine. I knew immediately that this was Henry's doing. I called the police immediately. Within a short time, the detectives arrived and took her body away. As I stood outside almost in shock, I told the officers about my suspicion of Henry. A few weeks passed and the detectives finally called my parents to confirm what I had already feared. Henry had been arrested for the murder of my girlfriend. But he wasn't alone. Zach, the other boy in my class, had been his accomplice. While Henry was breaking into my house, Zach had been at my girlfriend's house, and he was the one who wrote the message on the wall. It's been months since then, and I still can't sleep peacefully. The memory of my girlfriend and her tragic end haunts me every night. I can't help but think that if I had gone to her house as I had planned that night, maybe I would be dead now too. And for Henry and Zach, I just hope they never get out of jail, because if they do, I'll make sure it's the last day of their lives in freedom.
Ooh, okay. That was scary.
Yeah.
Same thing as, like, story,
It being a story makes it scary?
yeah. Like, I still have, it gives me the chills that when I'm ever asleep, and it just gives me the freaks when I'm, like, home alone and stuff.
You're hardly ever home alone.
Well, when I get older,
Maybe.
yeah.
Anyways, here is story number 3. Owen is officially creeped out. We're going to resume now.
I will never forget the day my life changed completely. I was walking my baby in a stroller, enjoying the fresh air and the quiet of the morning. Suddenly, a strange man approached me. He looked unkempt. His hair was long and matted, his teeth broken and blackened, and he smelled like garbage. He asked me for money, but I had nothing on me. I felt a deep discomfort and walked away quickly, thinking that would be it. I had no idea that this would be just the beginning of a nightmare. Later that afternoon, as I was feeding my baby, a loud knock sounded at the front door of my house. Startled, I went over to peek through the window and, to my horror, saw the same man standing in front of the door. Fear coursed through my body and I decided not to answer. Instead, I hid in the kitchen and locked the back door. I hoped he wouldn't come back, but the uneasy feeling wouldn't leave me. The next night, another deafening knock on the door woke me up. This time I didn't hesitate and called the police, but when they arrived, the man was already gone. I was told to report him again if he showed up again. But the damage was done. I couldn't stop thinking about him. Every noise, every shadow made my nerves stand on edge. I began to feel like someone was watching me all the time. The next morning, while I was hanging the laundry in the yard, I saw him again. He was hiding behind some trees, watching me. Terror came over me immediately, and I ran into the house, closing all the doors and windows. Paranoia began to take hold of me. In desperation, I went to my neighbor's house, 2 brothers who were boxers. I begged them to help me look for the man, but after searching the whole neighborhood, they found nothing. I felt like I was going crazy, but something told me it wasn't just paranoia. This man was stalking me. Days passed, and although I tried to go on with my life, the fear was ever present. One morning, I woke up with a sense of panic that I couldn't explain. As I went downstairs, I noticed that one of the windows in my house was broken. The back door was wide open, and most disturbingly, my underwear had been stolen from the clothesline in the yard. Nothing else was missing from the house, but the fact that this man had been inside so close to my baby and me chilled my blood. I felt an inhuman chill run through my body. I called the police immediately. They arrived quickly and searched every corner of the house and garden, but found nothing. I gave them the same description I had given before. Long, dirty hair, broken and blackened teeth, with a rotten smell. But this time I added something else. His laugh. A vile, evil laughter that echoed in my head every time I thought of him. Several weeks passed without anything else happening. I began to relax a bit, although I was still alert. One day, while I was shopping with my sister, I saw the man again. This time he was not hiding. He came straight towards us and asked us for money. Panic set in, and before I knew it, I passed out in the aisle of the store. The next thing I knew, my sister and several witnesses had seen him too. This time, the store security cameras captured his image. The police finally had proof. They tracked him to a makeshift camp in the woods. What they found there was chilling. The man had murdered 2 women and attacked others for money, stabbing them to death. He had been stalking his victims just as he had been stalking me. When the man was arrested, I was immensely relieved. I had been living in constant fear for months that at any moment he might return. At last, it was over. The trial was swift, but he was sentenced to 25 years in prison. Knowing he was behind bars, unable to hurt anyone else, brought me a peace I hadn't felt in a long time. Still, the scars he left on my mind didn't disappear right away. I moved in with my sister and her husband, seeking security and peace of mind. My baby was starting to grow, but I was still extremely cautious. Every time I left the house, I felt on high alert, unable to trust the men I saw on the street. As time passed, things began to return to normal, albeit slowly. I began to go out again, but always vigilant, always with the feeling that someone might be lurking. The shadow of that experience still hangs over me. My life was shaken in a way I could never have imagined. Today, I am more cautious and more aware of my surroundings, but also stronger. I know the fear will never completely go away, but at least now I know we are safe. For now.
That's why I gotta stay strapped. Get you a gat.
That is actually kind of scary. It's like kind of talking about, kind of like stalking. And what's the creepy part on like the eyes? They're like black, and how do you? I'm like thinking like they haven't slept for like an hour. Sleep.
Probably not. It's probably malnourished and yeah, just creeper creeps out there like that. This is the very last video / story. Story number 4. And beginning now.
1, 2, 3, 2, 1.
It was late at night, around 2 in the morning, and I was heading alone to the airport to pick up my grandmother.
Oh, dang it.
The road I took was not very busy, especially at that hour. The rain began to fall heavily, accompanied by thunder, making the whole environment even more desolate. After driving for a while, I came to a road through a dense forest. This was the only route to the main highway leading to the airport. It had always been rumored that this road was haunted, but I didn't believe in such things. To distract myself, I put on my favorite song, Englishman in New York by Sting, and tried to ignore the stories about the forest. I had been driving through the woods for about an hour when the road started to get bumpier and bumpier. It seemed almost impassable. That's when, without warning, my tire blew out. The sound was so loud that my heart skipped a beat. I had to stop immediately, and to make matters worse, I was in the middle of the forest, far from any civilization. I got out of the car in the rain to see the damage. The tire was completely shredded and, of course, I didn't have a spare. I tried to call a tow truck, but they told me it would take at least 3 hours to arrive. There wasn't much else I could do, so I went back to the car and waited for them to arrive. While waiting, I tried to distract myself by watching TikTok. Among the videos I watched, one caught my attention. It was a story about a strange creature that had been sighted in my state. It was said to be huge, with yellow eyes and razor-sharp teeth. I let out a nervous laugh, thinking it was just absurd rumors to scare people. But something inside me began to get restless. When the rain subsided, I got out of the car to check the tire again, hoping that maybe there was some way to fix it temporarily. What I saw, however, was worse than I imagined. Something or someone had scratched the bodywork, leaving deep, long marks on the metal.
Man, bear, pig.
The air around me seemed heavier and denser. That's when I heard it. A scream that belonged to no human being. It was loud and high-pitched, and it came from somewhere near in the forest. I tried to run back to the car, but the door had slammed shut. As I frantically searched my pockets for my keys, I heard footsteps behind me. They were not normal footsteps. They were heavy, as if something massive was slowly approaching. When I dared to look, my body froze in place. A few feet away from me, in the shadows of the trees, stood a gigantic creature, over 8 feet tall, covered in dark brown fur. Its eyes glowed bright yellow, and it had a mouth full of razor-sharp teeth. The most terrifying was a single horn protruding from its forehead, curved backward like a spear. Fear paralyzed me, but I managed to pull out the bear spray I always carried with me for emergencies. I sprayed it in the face, but the creature barely blinked. No harm was done. In desperation, I smashed the car window to take shelter inside. The beast began to walk slowly toward me, its claws echoing against the ground. It approached the car and began to look through the windows, studying me as if it knew I had no escape. Time passed slowly as the creature prowled around my car, stalking me like a predator. My breathing was heavy and every second felt like an eternity. Just when I thought all was lost, I saw the lights of the tow truck approaching down the road. The noise of the crane's engine caused the creature to raise its head as if it heard something disturbing. Without warning, it ran into the forest with surprising speed, disappearing into the darkness. The tow truck driver saw nothing unusual, but I was too frightened to explain what had happened. I could hardly speak. I simply climbed into the tow truck and let the driver take my car to a nearby garage. After my car was repaired, I drove as fast as I could to the airport. When I finally arrived and saw my grandmother, I tried to explain to her what had happened. I told her about the creature and how it had stalked me in the middle of the woods. Her reaction was alarming. Instead of dismissing it as a hallucination, her face filled with concern. She made me sit up and, with a sigh, told me a story I had never heard before. The creature I had seen had a name, Garajurama. According to an ancient Persian legend, Garajurama was a monster that hunted and devoured children lost in the forest. He would only stop when the victim was past the age of adolescence or when he saw something he considered sacred. My grandmother thought that maybe the fact that I had just turned 20 had saved my life. From that day on, my life changed. I could no longer make fun of the paranormal as I had before. What I experienced that night was too real to be a simple hallucination. Now, every time I pass near a forest, I remember Garajurama's yellow eyes, lurking in the shadows, waiting for his next victim.
Well, what'd you think of SSG Animations, since they're new to the docket?
Good.
You like them?
Mm-hmm.
You like the stories?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'll give them that. They did really good.
It acts like it's like real. And it's like real things that happened.
It's a different type of scary. It's not like, scary.
It's
but it's
like telling a story.
I don't want that to happen to me.
Yeah, it's like...
I don't need Garajurama over there popping daddy's truck tires.
He's like...
Yeah, I know.
And as you see children just like... He's like...
Oh, yeah, he takes children.
He's like...
Not me, but, you.
I don't know. Okay. Wait, what?
Yeah, you have to worry about him, Garajurama, for the next 10 years.
It kind of sounds like Barack Obama-ish.
Yeah, it is Barack Obama. He's just wearing a Bigfoot suit with a horn on his head.
Let's go. Let's go.
Anyways, gents and gals and peeps, if you haven't liked and subscribed, do that now, right?
Immediately.
Now. And join us next time for Spooky Scary Sunday.
Hold up.
What?
Also, give us new videos that we haven't seen yet.
Oh, go on Twitter, X, whatever you call it, right? John X Ross.
Mm-hmm.
Send me anything you want that you think that it's gonna scare our pants off, right? I've been asking, and I've been asking, and I've been asking for scary vids, right? I find these on myself, which is fine. But if you think there's something out there that can like get us to like freak the freak out, please send it. Anyway.
So when you're ever watching something scary and you see it and it scared your pants off.
Immediately think of us and be like, oh, John and Owen need to see this now at Spooky Scary Sunday.
That's a good idea.
Yep. Anyway, till next time.